You got it.
Hey, everybody, this is Jim Toscano on the Monday Night Live stream, Filling in the Grooves. I think we're up to episode 96, and it's been super fun doing these interviews and sharing stories and spreading the joy of drumming through conversations with amazing artists, and also I'm bringing some business folks through over the next couple of months, and to give drummers a little bit of understanding about the business side of things, because I think that gets overlooked, especially with young drummers. They're not learning about the things you need to survive in the music business. So I'm going to have a music accountant, a music attorney. We're going to have some business consultants come in, and we'll have some people from the tech world come in as well. And that way we're spreading some skills besides great stories, and hopefully giving you guys something that's fun and informative at the same time, because it's really about spreading the joy, but also spreading information that's really useful. And by the way, last week, if you missed the Lenny White episode, that's up on YouTube archived. So check out the Lenny White one. That was super fun. And my guest tonight, we're going to talk about, I'm going to kick off one little topic at the top that Lenny and I talked about that I think is really relevant. Before I do that, I just want to mention some companies: Vader Drumsticks, Prologix Percussion, Offset Pedals, Sabian Cymbals, Black Magic Designs for my crazy switcher and all my electronic gizmos. So I just want to say thank you to those companies that have been so supportive and that I firmly believe in. And there's good people behind those companies, real people back there. All right. So my guest tonight is a prolific drummer, someone that was a trailblazer in our industry and really changed the landscape of drumming and groove from the very beginning, I think, of his career. He's played with everybody from James Brown, Steely Dan, Miles Davis, Aretha Franklin, Hall & Oates. I mean, Wolfpack, more recently. You name it, this man's been on so many records. My guest tonight, Bernard Purdie. Yeah, man. And by the way, as I bring you in, I just wanted to give this little taste right here. Yeah. Bernard Purdie and Friends we're listening to. It's all about the groove. Yeah. All right. Guys, by the way, those tracks are up on Bernard's website, which, by the way, the link to Bernard's website is in the description of this video. So you can go there, you can click the link, you can go to his site. If you click under music, you'll see some of Bernard's solo records as a leader and as well as a player. And there's a store there, and you can get Bernard's autobiography, which is pretty incredible. And everything that Bernard's got going on is over on his site, so check that out. And I also put a link to Bernard's Facebook page on the description of this video. So click on that, reach out to him, become a friend, and my guest, Bernard Purdie. There we go.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry for that long intro. Hopefully it wasn't too long-winded.
Nice. Very, very nice.
So, man, welcome to the show. And you're looking well. And I know I mentioned earlier, you and I have met just through passing from me being a musician around the New York area and you, of course, being in the area. And I think we've bumped into each other. You were playing the big room at BB King's. I was playing over in Lucille's with my group. And we've bumped into a few other venues. We also bumped into each other at the Union Hall at least one time. Over at 802.
A couple of times.
Yeah. So it's great to see you, and it's been a little bit of a time, but thank you for being generous with your time and taking the time. And I always say this: behind every good man is a great woman. So a shout out to Celia for allowing you to take the time with me tonight, and my wife for allowing me to take the time with you tonight.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, man.
My plasma.
Awesome. So, man, last week I had Lenny on the show, and I asked him about that core relationship between him and Stanley Clarke, and how, there's a marriage between bassists and drummers sometimes that is so inseparable and becomes so integral. It's sort of like interbeing, like you both exist in the same fiber of your playing. And for you, that's Chuck Rainey, I think.
Yes, yes, and yes.
And man, like if you go through your discography, which for anybody that knows, it would take you a very long time because there's so many albums in your discography, but there's so many uncredited stuff from the early days where guys just weren't getting what they were due in the credits. And so I would imagine there's even many more. But for you, Chuck Rainey and yourself on so many records together, could you just speak to that special relationship between bass players and drummers that you've experienced?
Well, the relationship does go back. It goes all the way back to, for me, as a baby.
Wow.
I I learned that from the beginning. My teacher is the one who, Mr. Hayward, who's teaching me what it's like to be a drummer.
Yeah.
But no matter what you do, there is one person that you must love even more. And that was the bass player.
Yeah.
And I said, why? He said, the bass player is the one who keeps you in check.
Yeah.
What, why would he want to do that? He said, simply because stop you from going all over the place. Anywhere you want to go, the bass player's not with you, you're not going to be with anybody.
That's right.
Guaranteed, if you do not have that bass player in your sights, behind you, in front of you, beside you, whatever needs to be done, you're not going to work.
Yeah.
You will lose the job quickly. You will actually end up having a problem.
Yeah, yeah. Would you say that from early on, when you did start to have that relationship, that you guys were basically recommending each other, or did people realize that connection and just start booking you guys together?
Well, that's a nice way to put it, but it wasn't at that particular time. I go back even earlier, and I go all the way back to King Curtis,
Right.
which was 61, 62, 63.
And you were
That's how,
you were young in that band.
yes.
Yeah.
And Chuck had just come to New York from Texas, and we just got along. We got along because what he played was love.
Yeah. Yeah.
We hit it. It didn't matter what kind of record or what we were doing. We loved what we were doing, but we also loved each other.
Right.
Because the warmth is there. My guiding, he was like an angel, but a devil. But he kept me straight and where I needed to be. And anytime that I wanted to do something, he backed me up.
Yeah.
And anytime he wanted to do something, I'd back him up. We never clashed on doing the job, ever.
Nice.
Because before him, I had all upright bass players.
Right, right.
But I had learned from all of these guys, you gotta stay into where you're going to be and how you're going to focus on the whole band. It wasn't, see, I didn't know that the bass player is the one who always kept me straight. So I had to I had to learn discipline.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't know how hard that was.
But let me ask you this, because you also played in a lot of organ trios. So playing with organ players, that's a whole nother discipline, right? Because now
Yes, it is.
they're playing bass parts with either their feet or their hands, and that must take a lot of discipline as well, because that's a
It-
different thing than a bass player that's standing there, right with you, right? So you got to
yes,
get
it is.
right with that organ player.
You got to get with the organ player because his left hand is what's going to keep the band moving, and it didn't matter whether it was a trio, whether it was 8 or 10 pieces,
Right,
because sometimes they had a bass player that would join in, and then the organ player wouldn't have to do anything
right.
but play the top part
Yeah.
and the middle. So yeah, you had more. I had to learn all of the different ways and the different flavors that came at, because playing with upright was totally different than a bass player that was electric.
Yeah, indeed.
You know, it didn't. Electric bass was not used until 62,
Right, right.
63. Wasn't used. You had upright,
Yeah.
then you had organ players. So that all came a little later. But you want to know something? Even more of discipline that I had to do,
Yeah.
because at that time you had somebody who could do the job. And like I said, I came from upright bass players at the time, and like James Brown. James Brown had Al Lucas, short, big hands, but that bass was all upright, and he had to smoke. He had
Yeah.
constantly and hard, pulling hard. And then I had to learn how to play within that kind of bass.
Yeah.
Wilbur Bascom, the same problem. Wilbur played both upright and Fender.
Wow.
But then I had Bob Bushnell, upright and Fender, because he was the one who got the credit for bringing the Fender bass to the music, especially to the recording.
Yeah, it never occurred to me, but I don't remember hearing, and maybe it just didn't realize it, but hearing recordings of James Brown's group with any upright, because all the recorded video footage from that came out later, all the film is all electric, right? Um, but
Yes.
man, that's a different. Wow, I never even realized that.
Well, think about this particular song. It's a man's world.
Right? Yeah.
That's upright,
Yeah.
upright.
Holy moly. Man, and if that bass player is dragging, James is finding him 5 5 5 5.
Well, you didn't do much dragging.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything that he had to put out, you didn't do any dragging.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything, practically everything was not only with a groove, but it's on top.
Yeah.
So much of it was on top because he loved to dance. He had to dance with everything that he was doing.
Yeah.
And dancing is what I had to do from 3 years old when
So
I started. Yes,
ah. So
when I
did
started playing at 3 years old, it was the big band. It was a 14-piece orchestra in my hometown, and it's the same thing. I had to learn how to play every genre of music,
yeah.
but Everything was dance. You had to dance. And it didn't matter. Didn't matter whether it was jazz, blues, punk, R&B, pop. You had to play everything, but you had to play it as dance music.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a way of life. It was the way of what the music was. If you couldn't get the people to move, that band would not be the following week
That's right.
in that club.
That's right.
And they worked every weekend.
Yeah.
They worked every weekend. So all of those things came about with me from my teacher, Mr. Hayward,
Yeah.
but it was drilled into me. You got to learn how to stop overplaying.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was hard for me. That was really, really hard for me because, sure, I played in the big band and I played in the orchestra.
Right.
I played in the parade. I played where everybody, no matter what it was danceable. And the hardest part for me was not to overplay
I think that's like the
because,
biggest lesson for most, like especially when you're teaching, right? When you're teaching
yes,
younger people, is like you have to. The song is the client, and you have to
yes,
serve the client, which is the song, and play for the song. It's not all about you, right? And that's a
that's
hard
right.
lesson to learn, man. Yeah,
Believe me, it took a while.
yeah.
I even got blackballed with my own group.
What?
I,
What?
I, no, I always was trying to do something different.
Yeah, yeah,
No matter what it was, I tried to do a little something different. I never wanted to play the same thing every performance.
yeah,
I just, I would be upset because if I had to play the same thing every song, every job,
yeah,
every
yeah.
performance, I just, you get tired. You know what you're going to do. You know what you have to do. But then there was just my thing of the horn players used to get so mad at me that they'd be smoking and swinging, grooving, funky, didn't matter. Shuffle, didn't matter what it was. They was smoking. And
Right, right.
I had to get down. I'd get so involved in what's happening. You kept that thing on, ting, 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 ting. When you're playing and you got it, and that's where the time is,
Right.
and that you got people dancing that fast. You don't turn around and tang 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 tang. They wanted to kill me.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Well,
band wanted to kill me.
I think it's funny with horn players, like they really love knowing, like having really clear setups so that they you're setting them up for their mark, right? So there's no
Right.
surprises,
No
and
surprise.
you're right. Like it's if the groove is always consistent, they can just rely on that and kind of feel where they're at. And if you throw some curveballs in there, yeah, I can imagine, getting some guys upset.
I've had I yeah, I've had sticks thrown at me.
Yeah. Oh man.
I this part of this is gonna go, it's definitely going into the next book, the second book.
Nice.
Because
Um,
you just wanna give them something different, something that I haven't told people about over the years. And I just want them to know that Yes, I was pretty dumb at one time. I would mess up, but my
Right.
mess up was not so bad that I had to. uh, Well, I can't say that either. 'Cause I better not try to clean it up too much. Uh, it was just I was wrong. It
Right.
was I was wrong trying to add something different to the groove when these people uh, honky tonky.
Yeah.
Mm. They're one of the best examples going down the road. Honky tonk.
Right.
You get into that, you cannot change the rhythm.
Yeah.
You cannot change what's there and what is happening. That song got to be played the way Billy Butler wrote it,
Right.
and the and the organist Bill Doggett.
Yeah.
You don't stick. You don't stick a eighth note feel in there when things were dotted. And
Right.
you got the guitars, and you got the bass line, and you got the horns underneath, and the man who's doing it, the guitars that's playing it, and then you turn around and you want to make a fill. You just don't do that.
Oh
You
man.
don't do it. The worst thing in the world.
But
And
you
I,
obviously you learned that early on
oh, I sure did.
because you know you don't have
It,
4,000 albums to your credit. You know, playing the wrong things.
no, I don't. You're right.
Yeah, man.
But I tell you,
But I
it
love
was,
that you are talking about that because everybody's human and everybody starts somewhere, right? So
yeah,
it's just nice to hear, you know, that in your humble beginnings, you made the mistakes. You got adventurous maybe to your own
yeah, I
chagrin.
know. But it hurt.
Yeah, yeah,
It hurt because I just couldn't stand playing the same thing
yeah.
every performance, every night. We're playing with the big band. This is a 14-piece orchestra,
Right.
and the people were dancing. They'd stop. They would actually stop because you mess up their rhythm.
Yeah.
That's what really hurt me the most because they didn't want me to sit in.
Yeah.
They really didn't. And then I finally had to promise not to go out and go out to left field on them. So I did. I had to cool down. I really did. And I'll tell you, that was hard.
Right.
That was really, really hard. But it really forced me to learn all the different genres of music.
Right.
So I can get a chance to play straight times. I get a chance to triplets. I get a chance to eights. I get a chance to sixteenths. I get fast, I get it dotted. I did everything. And then it took me to the ballads, which was the triplets.
Right.
When I got into the triplets, I found that I could do something slightly different. And when I got there, I did make it happen. And
Yeah.
that's where the Purdie Shuffle came.
I understand. I mean, you've told this before, but that living by the trains is kind of
Hmm.
what inspired that groove, right?
Oh, yes. Oh,
And
yes.
that's amazing. Like thinking of that, because I mean, I grew up in New York. It's like listening to the subway too. It's got a certain rhythm to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And we had the subway running down below just across the street, and we could hear it all day, all night. You know, and of course, the New York City subway is more of like a, you know, um, a random hip hop groove that's going by. But
It, but on top of it, Elkton, Maryland was a big train stop.
yeah,
It was a big train stop. Elkton was the marriage capital of the world for almost 100 years.
wow,
The train would come, the drivers would come, the planes would come into Glasgow or go into Baltimore, you know. But we were a big stop.
yeah,
We were a major stop. And that train is what taught me how to weave the music together to where I could do something. But I also had to learn that you can't do the Purdie Shuffle fast. It's not about fast.
yeah,
It's about halftime. And the halftime has to be, and it's got to go, it's in a 2-bar phrase.
yeah,
You have to learn that's what it is. To have it work once it's there, and if you do it fast, you're going to fall by the wayside.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're not going to do it. And that's what too many folks, it took them a lot of years to slow down just so they could learn the Purdie Shuffle.
Yeah. And
So I'm happy that, yes, it took them 15, 20 years. But the point is that it works.
yeah. And it's
It,
it's the it's the space between the notes and how it breathes. And it's
yes,
and sort of all that placement, but you're covering basically every note on the grid,
yes,
but super well placed and quietly. It's got those hills and valleys. It's
yeah.
like it's just so it's such a perfect coming together of those elements. And the recordings, I mean, if you listen to them from a tempo point of view, it's very chill where it sits.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody, right, like what you said, if somebody was rushing that, is not happening. Yeah, yeah,
Doesn't happen. The song is not going to happen.
yeah, yeah,
It's just not going to happen because it's out of place.
yeah,
And
for
if you
sure.
got somebody, someplace here is going to be too fast, and another side over here is going to be too slow. And then when you try to put them together, and the biggest problem is that it is not one bar.
Right.
When people finally learn that it's a 2-bar phrase that you put together and
Yeah,
you make all of those things work, it's a well-oiled machine.
yeah,
It really is. And it's
yeah.
beautiful.
It is. It is,
It is
man.
absolutely beautiful because it works every time.
And it's inspired generations of drummers. Not, well, I won't. No, no, I'm going to take that back. Generations of musicians, because as much as drummers, of course, are always inspired by that groove and are trying to emulate, and perhaps there are many recordings where the the sort of lope that's going on in there was tried and stolen and reconfigured on other tracks for sure. But also other musicians are inspired by that because there's so many times when you'll hear somebody say, "Can you do something like that Purdie Shuffle?" It'll be a bass player asking that or a piano player asking that. So it's
Mhm.
really inspired generations of musicians and really pushed the style beyond where it sat. Nobody heard ghost notes like that intertwined in a shuffle prior. It just didn't happen.
No,
So
it didn't.
changed the landscape for sure. Um,
Well, I had to do something because it was driving me crazy.
right, right.
Not being able to add something different to it. And that was the whole thing. That's
Yeah,
why it took so long because too many drummers wanted to overplay.
yeah,
They want to overplay everything, but you don't do that with the Purdie Shuffle. The Purdie Shuffle is the backbeat is on the third. feet
Right.
of the bar,
Yeah.
and all that in between, those ghost notes, little teeny tiny things, even your fingers. Let your fingers do the walking.
Right, right.
Yes.
I
But
I I heard that when you were talking with the gents from Steely Dan that they were like, no, 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 we're not looking for a shuffle, and you were like, wait, 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 hear me out, listen to what this is before you say you don't want to shuffle.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. And when they heard it, they were grinning from ear to ear
yeah, yeah,
because now they have something
yeah.
because they had already pre-recorded this song, uh, 4 or 5 different bands.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and
They
those
were,
guys were sticklers, right? They would
oh
record
yes,
and record and record until
yes,
many, 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 many takes, um, until they got what they wanted. So if they weren't
yes,
getting what they wanted, they'd go move to the next drummer.
yes, they did.
Yeah,
They did that very, very often.
yeah,
And I was fortunate that so many other people was hearing these other things going on.
yeah.
And they said, okay, we'll try it. So I had arrangers that were writing out the part. So they wrote out my own part on the chart. And it cracked me up. It really cracked me up because it's slightly not quite right.
Yeah, yeah. They probably were going like scratching their heads, going, "What exactly is he playing there?"
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But that was it was okay.
yeah,
Because see, I had to learn diplomacy.
yeah,
I really did. I really had to learn diplomacy. And I see that they're trying to write it out and to get it. And I would just do it.
yeah.
And that kept me working
That's it, man.
all
Team
the
player.
time.
You,
Yeah,
yeah. You can't
I
just
love
come in and be all that. You have to be a team player,
it. Mm-hmm.
be a bit of a yes man, right? Because if you want to work with the singers, you got to serve the singer. You
Yes.
want to work in studios, you got to serve the song. You want to become good friends with the engineer because if you don't, he can mess with you, right?
But even more so, the ones that hurt you the most are the arrangers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've been in the situation where they have written out my part, and the first thing they said, now we want you to play exactly what's there. I said, sure. So I did, and it was like, oh no, it's just not working. I said, you're right, it's not working. What are you trying to write? I wasn't supposed to be smart enough to understand that
Right,
because
right.
a lot of people thought that I didn't read music. And so I said, if you really want the Purdie Shuffle, you're really close in the writing. But there's a little bit, still a tiny bit, you got to tighten up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So one has to do what the other part doesn't do.
Right.
It's a relationship. It's like anything else when you're working with people like Chuck Rainey, um, even Jerry Jamont.
Right.
I mean, Jerry's thing was different, but Wilbur Bascom, Wilbur had his own thing. He had his own thing. He wasn't trying to be Chuck Rainey.
Right.
Wilbur was being Wilbur.
Yeah.
I end up, yeah, I end up 25, 30 years working with Chuck, but I also end up 25 to 30 years or more with Wilbur Bascom
Yeah.
because we had different different bands I had to use with the different things that I was doing, and no problem.
Yeah.
When I couldn't get one from the studio, I got the other.
Nice.
So I learned how to alternate the band,
Yeah.
especially when you know what you have to do from an artist, because that's where my forte came. When you know the artist, you know who to pick.
Right.
It's that simple. It is not about going through any changes. You bring the people in that makes things easier for me
Yes. Yeah.
to make sure that I can talk with them and we get it done.
Yeah. 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 It
So,
truly is really a marriage of, personality as well as the music, right?
mhm, yes, very
You know,
much so.
those are real relationships. And that's relationship building is what this whole business is really based on, right? I mean,
Yes,
it
it is.
really is. I wanted to just jump back to one thing, like talking about bringing you wanting to bring something different to the table on everything that you played. Because if you listen to Ooh Child, right? Ooh Child,
Yeah,
like that drum part there's a lot going on in there, but it works
yeah.
so well. The tune has a lot of space, but
Hmm.
and you were able to sort of fill those gaps, and so appropriately, of course, and the feel is unbelievable. But there's a lot going on in that tune. It's busy. It's kind of busy, right? But
It's
it
busy,
works.
but the busyness is what made it. I tighten up with the bass player.
Yeah.
See, that was the family itself. These the young guys, young people were hearing all kinds of things,
Yeah.
and the producer was who wrote the songs with them. I mean, that everybody had their idea what they thought was going on.
Yeah.
So we lost a lot of time. We lost a lot of time trying to make everything work.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I said, would you please allow me to have 10, 15 um, minutes or so? Um, did I mess up? Am I still there?
Yeah. Yeah. You're still here.
Okay.
Yeah. All good.
Okay. Can I have 10 or 15 minutes of changing a little bit, just a little bit of things?
Yeah.
Um, and that's what we came up with.
Wow.
One take.
Is it, man? That's crazy. See, you got to leave
Mm.
it to the drummers. That's that's the name.
Well, we usually are able to do things as long as the producers are are there and allowing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Um, let's check into the chat real quick and just see if there's some
Okay,
questions.
I need to call my wife in for a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Celia, Celia.
All right.
Uh, Celia.
She's baking something good, man.
I wouldn't doubt that. While you're checking on something, let me just.
Yeah, you could step away for a minute.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go into the chat here and kind of say hello to some folks. And if there's questions, I'll wait for Bernard to come back. But let me start saying hello to some folks. And yeah, a lot of our regulars in here. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Anthony Cucina, I actually mentioned you in the pre-hang. So Bernard knows that you would be coming in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right,
Celia,
hold on one.
all right, you're on air. Don't say anything bad.
I never would. Okay, let me just see if I can get back here by this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you.
How's those cookies coming out?
Blessings, blessings, my son. Is that nice enough?
Thank you. Nice. All
Okay.
right. All All right, so I just opened up the chat window. Anthony Cucina, as I said in our pre-hang, it would be the first up, and sure enough, there he is saying, "Good evening, gentlemen." Um, let's see. Mike Malaise saying "woohoo," hanging in there. Don O'Keefe up in Connecticut saying hello. Steve Balgoyan saying hello from Colorado.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have a question right out of the gate from Anthony Cucini. He says, "Hello, Mr. Purdie. How would you talk about how you go about conquering the form of a song, like knowing where to relax and where to build tension in a song?" That's a good question.
Well, it's a good question. And it's one of the things that I do teach my students. And I try to explain to them no matter what happens, form is everything.
Yeah.
It's also the simplicity of what makes everything work.
Yeah.
You have to listen to everything and everybody. Everything and everybody. When you've gotten it right, it it just falls in to whatever groove, whatever feel that you're looking for. Because the one thing that I teach all of my students, no matter what, have respect. You've got to have respect for the band leader. You've got to have respect for the artists. You've got to have respect for the producers. You got to have respect for the writers.
Yeah.
You got all of these different people that are bringing you together as a band to make the music work, make it happen. So I had to learn to throw my ego out the window, no matter how many recording sessions I've done. It all comes down to this one that you're working on now. And when you learn that, it's not a problem. It's not a problem to play. If somebody else is going to tell you to try to do something another way, somebody else hears something that you don't.
Yeah.
So do it. It's that simple. Do it.
Yeah.
Don't ever worry about you being wrong when you're trying to make something work.
Right.
Because the more that you listen to others around you, the better you're going to be as the player. And then the respect that you're going to get from everybody in that band at the time, especially because now you want everybody to think your way to make it work. So don't ever stop being able to.
No, that was just somebody subscribing. Don't pay attention to that sound.
But that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And that's how I teach. I got nothing against what we call the book learning. You know, no. Listen, when I really want to know something, and they don't have a chart or something for me, don't get uptight. Don't get uptight. Go walk over. One of the best ways, the keyboard.
Yeah.
99% of the time, you're going to have something written in there because they're going to be putting something else in there, whether they're putting the horns, whether they're putting background singers, whether they're putting other instruments. It's going to be something else that's going to be added to it. Walk over to the piano and look at what was written out.
Yeah.
For a horn part or a background part or something else. Add that. And all of a sudden, ooh, yes, the arranger hears where you're coming and where you're going. Because most of the arrangers play keyboard.
Yeah. That's right.
It's so much easier for them. You know, Herbie Hancock. I did so many different records with him before he was Herbie Hancock to the world.
Right.
We got along. We got along. I mean, I could give you hundreds of piano players. Paul Griffin, Frank Owens. Yeah. It was it was a wonderful experience for me
Yeah.
because all of them, every one of them, in the beginning, would look at me and say, "Purdie, I didn't know that you read music." I said, "I know that because the point is, you don't have to worry about me. I'm going to do my job.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the job because I like what you're doing, and I hear something. I walk over to the piano and stand there and look and oh, da 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 da. And I start smiling and grinning because I hear, I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. So, yeah. So when I go to play, instead of instead of playing all the figures, I add. I add to it.
Yeah.
If a horn line is a whole bar, I'll take two beats
Yeah.
of it. Two beats and give so everybody's gonna hear that horn line and they're gonna hear the climax of it with the drums doing it and move on to the next section.
Yeah. Yeah. Compliment was
Compliment.
there. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Because that is how I did so many things, especially in the beginning, because I had the young man who invented multi-tracking. He's the one that was teaching me,
Yeah.
Les Paul.
Oh my God.
Yes, was my teacher when it came down to it.
Yeah.
I was making records. I was fixing records 62, 63, 64. I was making records with him
Yeah.
and fixing other records of other people.
Oh my God.
So I had a hell of a run.
Yeah.
I really have. So they hire me and don't worry about me.
Right.
And
They,
half of them will only write what they think is mandatory
yeah.
for me to have. I said, fine, no problem. And
That's
if
it.
I suggest to you, well, can I only play part of it so I can keep the time over here?
Yeah.
And by the time you're about to come with the third beat and the fourth beat, I pick up part of the horn lick
Yeah.
or part of the string lick or part of the background singer doing something. Hey, they write that part out because that's what they want.
Yeah. And
Don't
they're
get
gonna,
in the way.
yeah, they're gonna appreciate that you're thinking about it because it just shows you have respect for the music, but you're really listening. You're using this, and you're trying to bring to the table and not take away from the table by playing everything, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
oh man, let me let's say a few more people, and then I have some questions for you. So Larry Rizzo's hanging with us tonight. He said, "How's everybody doing?" Lucia Seminara, one of my young female students, hanging with us tonight, saying hello, Bernard. Bill Hopkins, another one of my students, hanging with us tonight, saying hello.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, how about this? Larry says, Bernard, could you please give us an artist that we most likely don't know that we should listen to? Who's somebody that should be on our radar that maybe, you have the pulse, you're on the pulse of it, but we need to know about it.
Well, let's see. Let's see.
Maybe
Um,
somebody that you played with that not too many people are familiar with.
well, there's a couple of people that they might not know. Let's see. Ooh.
Besides the other 4,000 famous people.
Well, you know what? What happens is that because I've been fortunate enough to work with all these different people from
Yeah.
around the world, I sat in with people. I've done things with folks. I've have been out there.
Yes.
So I okay. Well, good example.
Okay.
Um, in Jamaica, doing the recording stuff in Jamaica.
Right.
Now, who's the biggest name in Jamaica that you know?
Bob Marley.
Exactly. I made the first two albums of Bob Marley.
Now I knew that, but I bet you a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, of course they don't,
Yeah.
because nobody understands that. Wait a minute, but that's not funk. That's not R&B. That's not. Hey, it's a groove.
That's it. That's it.
It's a groove. You know, this you got to stop worrying about who didn't do something or who you think, because the music that I have loved all my life happens to be country.
Right. Right. Not like
I
country
love
and western,
country.
right?
That too, but country
But
music,
country music. Yeah.
yes.
And by the way, I also want to mention that, you've played, because you're mentioning some reggae stuff from Jamaica. You've played some calypso, and you've played a bunch of Latin stuff that I think people should go check out, like the early Gato Barbieri records that you played on. There's great stuff on there, man. Really great stuff. Of course, it grooves, but it's sitting in that place that maybe people don't realize you did that stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah. But the
Um,
Fania records, I did 90% of Fania records, the All Star records,
right, right.
their artists, because I was right next door to them, where their office was.
Oh,
And
wow.
I got along with everybody.
Yeah.
I used to go and sit in with them just so I learned to do things right.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's so smart, man, because you're sharpening the blade all the time by going out,
Oh,
listening to
mm,
everything, absorbing it, right?
right.
Oh man. And I also want to mention Gonzalo Aloras, which and Eddie Palmieri, those are later recordings that
Yes.
people might not know. I think actually Gonzalo's record I don't think is released yet, potentially. I'm not sure if that one was released yet. The Eddie Palmieri record is definitely out. And there's some more you know, examples of just how wide your palette of playing is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the beauty for me is like, okay, you take somebody like that, and you take Dizzy Gillespie
Yeah.
and yeah, uh, the Latin guys. He brought so much of Latin to the United States.
Oh yeah.
He got so many of them in in Cuba when he used to go to Cuba. Bring them back.
Yeah.
Those are the folks that really did not understand how that music started one way and all of a sudden they got boogaloo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they they were all out there, and every one of them were making hit records.
Yeah, man.
They were all making hit records. And that is how I got related to all of them.
Yeah.
Mongo Santa Maria, he didn't speak English,
He spoke
but
music.
music is universal. It is universal. And on top of everything else, I tell people no matter who you play for and with, never, ever overplay
Right.
with the band leaders.
Yeah.
Stay in your position.
Yeah, man.
It's the band leader they will call you back. They will call you back, and eventually you can go do your own thing someplace else because I play every genre of music.
Right.
So my band, any band that I have, is going to have versatility.
Yeah.
We know thousands of records.
Oh my God.
Got told Bobby, I had a ball. And I also went on the road with him for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Wonderful. I know that the time is short now.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch the time real quick. I'm going to give you just a couple quick things. Let's just say hello to my sister, Dave Clive from Dave Clive's Gretsch Museum in Brooklyn, hanging with us. Rick Latham, hanging with us.
One of my students.
From down in the Carolinas. Jim Mola, hanging with us.
Yeah.
Brian Yerkins down in North Carolina. Dave Stanhope in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Vincent LaRussa in Staten Island.
Ooh,
good buddy of mine. Bobby Boyd, hanging with us. Joe Elliott.
Yes.
Alan Ford. There's a lot of guys in the chat. So I want to respect your time. I want to make sure that I just get a couple things before we run out of time, because I know we're on the schedule tonight. Who is somebody that you didn't work with that you wish you had?
Wow. Oh. Wow. Yeah, but see, my problem is that even with that, I've sat in with so many
right
artists. Oh boy, oh boy. Now, oh.
I mean, there's so many in the discography that I would imagine it's really hard to think of somebody, maybe.
See, it's over 2,500 different artists that I've worked with.
Yeah.
2,500, and they all became band leaders themselves. So I've had the opportunity to work with all of them, and I've enjoyed because I learn to do what is necessary.
Right.
I don't worry about telling somebody, man, I can't do that, and I don't want to do that, and that's BS.
Yeah.
You accept the job, you do the job. It's that simple.
I have to tell you, you know Anthony Cucina? he goes, Madonna. Bernard always wanted to play with Madonna.
Yes.
There we go.
You know what, though? I didn't know she wanted to play with me.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Well, of course, that makes sense.
I found that out.
Oh, my God.
I found that out when I made a statement about 20 years ago. I didn't know.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know. And it's a thing that I regret that I didn't get a chance.
Okay.
Because I love the records that she's made. I love them.
Yeah.
I mean, and all of them are right on.
Yeah.
They're all right on.
That's true.
Yeah. So, folks that do the thing, when it's done right, it works.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It works.
Oh, man. And
Wow.
and one last comment. Steve Balgoyan said that he's really glad to hear there's going to be a next book, and that he bought your first one, and he got a copy from you when you were in Denver, and it was the night that you passed the torch to Adam Deitch. So that's pretty cool. Adam Deitch was just on the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
My heavens. Yes.
Oh my God, that's great.
Oh, man.
Well, I know you're on a tight schedule. I'm gonna release you from this, but I hope that you'll come back and do it again sometime, because there's so much more that we could dig into, and I have so many more questions for you. But I really appreciate you being generous with your time. And if anybody wants to study with Bernard, go to his website. You can get information about that because I know you do some teaching, and and I may be taking you up on that very shortly. And and the other thing is Bernard's music is up there. Check it out, and the records that you've made as a leader. There's a very long list of records that you've done as a leader, and we didn't even get into those. So, guys, make sure you're checking out Bernard's own records as a leader and as a writer and as a drummer as well, of course. So, thank you. Thank you to Celia for allowing the time with me tonight, because I really appreciate it. And it's been so fun to catch up with you and to talk about drums and life. So we'll talk again soon. And thanks to everybody that came in the chat. We really appreciate you hanging with us tonight.
Thank you.
And
all of you.
We'll talk to everybody real soon.
Okay.
All right, man. Good night, everybody.